Today, I'm joined on the show by a bantamweight contender from England. And on July 29th, he'll be fighting Gianluca Scottoli at Cage Warriors 158. That happens in Rome, Italy. He joins me here right now. His name is Mr. Sam Kelly. Mr. Kelly, I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you for joining me, sir.
No problem, Tyler. Glad to have a chat with you, mate.
I'm from Washington, D.C., but I watch a lot of Cage Warriors, and I watched your impressive performance not that long ago 1-2 right down the middle, a knockout. That piqued my interest, and I dug deep on you. I looked at your other fights, and I wanted to learn more about like who is this guy from Manchester? This guy's new on the scene. I want to know more about this guy. So then I watched your old fights, and here's the theme about you. You're a dangerous guy. You put people away. And my first question is that kind of burdensome at times because we're so spoiled watching you fight. You go out there, you put these guys away, you make it look easy, but it's not easy.
I'm always looking for the finish. People like finishes, don't they? Not, that's what people want to see. That's what gets the crowd going. That's what gets the viewers going. People want to see either knockouts or submissions. As long as you stop the fight before the timer runs out, that is what people want to see. That is what I'm always hunting for. But I spar in the gym all the time. We're doing 5 minutes, 6 5 minutes, and I'm still flying in the last rounds. I know I've got it in my locker. I've just literally not had to show it yet, and I'm sure at some point I will have to show it. I mean, I'm not just going to walk in there and starch everybody in 10 seconds as much as I'd like to. Let's just live in the real world for a bit. Um, but yeah, like I say, my fitness and my cardio is there. I can push the pace till the final bell. When it's needed, everyone will see.
You signed with Cage Warriors in 2022, which is a feat unto itself. Anyone that pays attention to the MMA scene knows that it is like the preeminent MMA organization throughout Europe. And they don't, Ian Dean doesn't just sign anybody. Like he's very selective in terms of who he brings in. And you have people not only from the UK, but through the rest of Western Europe that come through the Cage Warriors ranks. And I'd be remiss to not ask you, what are some of the things that young amateur fighters need to do in your mind to make it to your level one day?
I don't think there is no secret, mate. If you're into it, just get in the gym. Don't don't accept your own excuses to yourself. Like, "Oh, I've not got a fight. I don't need to be in the gym. I can miss training tonight." Just get in the gym. The only time you're going to get better is if you're in the gym. Whether you've got a fight, especially at amateur, you should be in all the time because you're learning, you're learning. I'm still learning all the time. I feel like every fight camp, I'm getting so much better. Every fight, I'm just leveling up, and it's just through putting the time and effort in and going to the gym. There's no secret to it. Just get in the gym.
One of the things that I've noticed, and it's become kind of a troubling sign for me, I see it particularly stateside where I'm at. I'd love to get your opinion on if it's similar in the UK, but I see a lot of young fighters that want these easy fights. They pad their records and they really haven't fought anybody worth anything and then they make it to your level and then they crumble. They fall apart and that's kind of like an ominous sign to me. And I kind of was curious, do you see that happen in the UK as well? And do fighters need to maybe be a little bit smarter about their matchups? Like give yourself a challenge within reason.
It depends what you are doing the sport for. I personally just want to test myself. I want to see how far I can get, and I want to fight the best people that I can fight in the promotion. So in cage warriors, I want to fight the best guys. Simple as that. That's why I signed here. I could have stayed fighting on the regional circuit for regional belts and whatnot, but I didn't want to do that. I said if I'm doing it, I'm doing it proper. Let's go proper, get some proper matches. But some people just want to look good to the friends who don't really know much about fighting, and they go in there and knock this absolute tomato can over, and it looks good to the friends who don't know nothing about fighting. But everybody in the fighting community knows it's nothing. You could have got someone out of the crowd who could have knocked this tomato can over. You know what I mean?
When were you contacted by Ian Dean to sign? I know you signed in 2022, but did they kind of like notify you in advance, like, hey, we want one more win from you, and then we'll bring you into the fold? Can you Tell me about how you got up with Cage Warriors.
It wasn't really like that. Coaches that I've trained with in the past and even currently, I know I've got a good relationship with Ian Dean, so I knew that he knew who I was. But there was never like any, if you win your next two fights, I'll sign you or anything like that. And then I think it was June last year, he just got in touch and said like, would you be interested? Blah blah blah, and it just went from there. Had the talks, told them what we thought, they told us what they wanted, and yeah, I thought, all right, let's do it. It's a step up, definite step up the ladder. So yeah, I was happy to do it.
Well, I was happy to see that you had signed. I didn't know who you were until I saw the KO, and then, like I said, it piqued my interest. There are a lot of things about you that I noticed, but when I think about you specifically, I don't necessarily just think of a guy with a lot of power. Like, you're very technical. You have an adept submission game, and there are a lot of things that you do very, very well. Are there other parts about your game though that we just haven't seen quite yet that you're ready to pull out?
Yeah, mate. I've already said to you, I'm getting so much better all the time. Like when I very first started, probably what is it, 8 or 9 years ago now, I took to the grappling a lot easier than I took to the striking. But now, because I'm serving my time and I'm putting the effort in, the striking is getting up. As you saw in the last fight, is getting up there and matching, and I'm learning to blend them all together into this perfect MMA mix. And yeah, everyone will see. It's all going to pay off eventually. All the hours in the gym, all the effort, all the sacrifice will definitely pay off, and I'll be able to show my worth to everybody.
10-second knockout, sir. Doesn't get much better than that. You take no damage whatsoever. It was a 1-2. You end the fight immediately. Here we are. July, at the end of July is when you'll be competing again. Considering you took no damage whatsoever and you finished your opponent right away, were you trying to get on a previous card?
Well, the one issue with that was I was going abroad to get married 5 days after the fight. So we put because they wanted me originally to go on the Manchester card, obviously being from Manchester. But I was abroad, I was in Jamaica getting married on them dates. Like that had literally been booked way in advance before I'd even talked to Cage Warriors. So I said I need to be on one of the London cards, or I'm not going to be fighting till the back end of the year, and I'll have had like 6, 7 months off when I'm healthy, and I don't want to.
So if I understand you correctly, you're telling me you booked a fight and then you were going to get married the next week.
Yeah, pretty much.
So did your missus tell you you better not get banged up? You better not get a bunch of black eyes for the wedding photos. You better look good for this wedding next week.
That's why I knocked him out in 10 seconds. I thought I'm gonna have to keep the missus happy. You know what I mean? Happy wife, happy life, all that.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I bet she was very happy that you were able to win in the manner in which you did. No cuts, no black guys. It doesn't get any better than that.
Definitely not. Unscathed. Come out unscathed, mate.
Gianluca Scottoli, Cage Warriors 158. That's going to be happening at the tail end of this month. At what point were you offered this opponent for the Rome card?
I've probably known for about 9 weeks till that's going to the day of the fight. Um, they wanted me to fight on Cardiff originally, but I'd only just got back off my honeymoon. I'd not even really been back in the gym training properly. I'd had like 5 or 6 weeks with. We was away for 3 weeks for the wedding, then I was away for a week for my honeymoon. So I just said to myself, I want a bit more time because obviously life has just got in the way the last couple of months. And the Indian was sound about it, and then they come back and said, "Would you fight on Rome?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." And they offered this guy. He's got a bigger record than me. He's got more wins than me. So yeah, let's go see what he's saying.
So this is kind of an interesting dynamic for me. I think about you, and yeah, I mean, I immediately thought that too without knowing the backstory. I was like, I probably would have put this guy on the Manchester card, but here you are. You're going to be fighting in Rome. Make sure you say hi to my friend James Power. He's a great guy. He'll be competing on the same card. But
Yes, I will
you're
do.
fighting an Italian guy in Rome, an 8-3 record. He's won 3 fights in a row. obviously he wants to put you away. He wants to go out there and put on a performance for his crowd. You're the English guy that nobody wants to see win for this one. Is that even more exciting for you knowing that you're like the blue corner that nobody wants to see win for this?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being the villain. I'm the villain this time, and I'm going to live up to the name and butcher him in front of his people.
Tell me about this guy. Like, what makes him a challenging opponent in your mind?
Like I just said to you, then he's got his records bigger than my previous opponents. I'm fighting on behind enemy territory. That adds to the experience as well coming up. So for where I am right now, it just makes sense. So yeah, but then everyone will see that when I go and take care of this guy, everyone will know that I belong with the top guys in the division.
So that's a great segue. A win over this opponent would puts you at a 6-1 record, and you're like right in the thick of like that upper tier of the 135 contenders and cage warriors. And before we kind of like get into like some of the names that come to the top of my head when I think about you, I'd like to get your opinion on just kind of the bantamweight division in general. I look at this and you can make an argument that the lightweight division and or the bantamweight division are one of the two toughest divisions you could potentially be in. Like when you look at your division as a whole and you think of the who's who, like what's your take on all these guys?
Yeah, there's some good guys. I'd say you could probably name 10 that caused all their own different problems and whatnot. Ones that come to mind. Um, and but the lighter divisions like bantamweight, even featherweight, lightweight, even welterweight, they're absolutely stacked. Like it is murderers row in them all. And but that's what makes it exciting. That's why people tune into the sport. I think I can beat these guys. They probably think they can beat me. So let's fucking find out then.
Well, we recently got a new bantamweight champion, Flackerin, but I also think of three other guys in your division. I think of Fletcher, I think of Shanks, I think of McEwen. Like those are the three guys that potentially, like I think there's a high probability you're probably going to fight one of those three with a win over this Italian guy.
Yeah, well, I'll have to rule Shanks out because I've been going up to Scotland and training at the gym he fights out of. That would definitely what happen. But yeah, Logren, obviously, he's got the belt. Who wouldn't want to fight him? That's just an obvious one. You know what I mean? So if you get offered a title shot, you're going to snatch the hand off and take it. That's not because Logren's got the belt. That's just because it's for the belt. Nothing to do with him. You'd have to be stupid to turn down a title shot, no matter what, unless your leg's hanging off or something like that. And yeah, like obviously, if I get to the start again, Reese McEwen, Nathan Fletcher, they're the ones that are up there, So it's probably going to happen at some point. I just don't know when. So it's my job to keep doing what I'm doing, training hard, keep winning the fights that they're throwing at me, and then when Ian Dean thinks the time right to throw it together, let's do it.
Sam, I really appreciate your time this evening. And I kind of wanted to give the last part of this show to you. I know that you have a lot of supporters and a lot of people that work with you to put you in a position to go out and perform for the world. Who are those people? Who are those supporters that you'd like to thank before I let you go?
I'll thank all my sponsors, Hedge Supplements, JPR Sports Therapy, um, North Fight Lab, Eric's Gear, always keeping me looking fresh. Dom, the barber, keeps me probably need to book in with him soon. Actually, I'm looking a bit rugged there, looking at myself. Um, Skin Lab by Alex, and also all my coaches. I've up in Scotland. I've got James Doolan, who's a top guy. Absolute people keep saying out him encyclopedia and knowledge. It's like he just knows everything. I've never seen him look stumped when anyone asks a question. He's got an answer straight away. Mine Stapleton, SPG Rochdale. I'm really enjoying training under him as well. And obviously the guy that got me into the sport, Jamie A, he's who I work a lot of my grappling with. So, and obviously everyone who sends me messages, supports me, comes to the fights. Yeah, I do love you all, and it's just too hard to get back to everyone sometimes. And I also can't be asked.
Well, Mr. Kelly, I appreciate your time this evening, sir. I wish you the best of skill, and I look forward to having you back very soon.
It's been a pleasure chatting to you, mate.